nafate kuriyala iba jawya munna nafate jawya labi iba kuriya munna nafate kuriyala nafigi la silamanja kula bambali la silamanja uya fala la silamanja ngomari masale bokelela nafigi la silamanja ja kula bambali la silamanja uya fala la silamanja muna ngomari masale bokelela yo Gambia ntalam albadi malam nena jeli suso ntele bari jambi Gambian talent show mamo be tantala mal jayla albadi malam the queen of manding nena jeli suso the golden voice wow mbal tantala mbal jayla bake bafala ko album o kanale December on the Benjamin Hall akana fomo ko mashallah Gambian talent show
onen nañ ko sanni fele simbalit gi ndele xale ndaw yi toog di ko foye fele door leen di seetaan Gambia Talent Promotion, you get me? They promoted only Gambians and this is our own thing, Gambia, you get me? So my fans, so leen ma bëggee gis boy, fii rek la boy, this is hot platform bii la boy, yeah? You get me? This is how we do it.
Young Talent TV, in the pure conqueror puan, till you like Gambia. Gambian Talent TV, in the Pilcon Cacao Fossa, till you like Gambia. Gambian Talent TV, in the Pilcon Billy, till you like Gambia. The Baran Gambian Talent TV, in the Pilcon Billy.
Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching or listening to us from. This is another edition of the Nyohobai show brought to you from the Gambian Talent TV. Pausman, you behind the mic as we always do. I am back again. Mashallah, sungen nyoy topa sa suneka, sungen nyoy deglu sa suneka, dinga xamne Nyohobai show is not a show that you see any Tom, Dick and Harry being welcome to. It's not a show that you actually see anybody rek kuy tambambalu ci mbedd mi waaye nag ñi nga xam ne ay borom domba tànk lañ ñi nga xam ne nag yëkkutu tayle ñi nga xam ne they have done a lot or continue to do a lot for our country, people that you want to hear from lañ leen a indil kon ma leen a béggee ngal be kontong al tonal kontong la ngal be jey mbaflale happy week and happy Easter to our Christian brothers and sisters in the building. I have the pleasure, of course, to welcome the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party, lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal. Welcome to the Nyohobai show. Spokesperson of the United Democratic Party, lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal. Welcome Mr. to the Nyohobai show. Nyohobai show. First time. Might be the first time you are. Excuse me, I was distracted by something. Welcome to the Nyohobai show, Mr. Taal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joe.
This is a show in which I discuss with people, starting with family, personal background. A lot of people here, Almamy Fanding Taal, will not probably know you as a lawyer, a legal counsel, a legal practitioner, and of course, in the past year, as the spokesperson and the face of the United Democratic Party. Sigatal, if you were to tell us who Almamy Fanding Taal is, how would you describe yourself? Or who can you tell us you are?
Well, principally a Gambian, born in Banjul. I attended Gambia High School and I got a scholarship in 1992 to study law in India. I came back in 1990. Later, after my absence, so to speak, I joined the Attorney General's chambers and I was serving there for 3 years. I got another scholarship to do a master's in law at the University of London after service. Thereafter, I went to work for the Ministry of Finance. They had a diversity agency. I worked there as a legal counsel and then as the acting CEO for about 3 years. When I realized that the government of the day was not about privatization and divestiture, I decided to resign and establish a consulting firm with my childhood friend, who was also one-time managing director of Gamtel. We started a consulting firm called Real Time Consulting.
You say who was who was that childhood friend?
Who
was that childhood friend?
Katim Ture.
Katim Ture, okay. And what
Yes,
type of...
he was managing director of Gamtel for...
Okay.
I didn't hear that part of the question.
I was going to ask, what type of consultation did you guys do? What type of consultation were you...
Oh, we had a consulting firm that was specialized in financial management and legal services.
Oh, legal services, okay.
For small, medium enterprises.
Okay. And how long did you do that?
I was there for about... we worked for this. He went back to Gamtel, and then I was also appointed where I served precisely 1 year, and I was removed by the former President Jammeh. And since then, I have been part and parcel of the University of the Gambia, helping with the law faculty. Actually, we started the law faculty, and thank God now Gambian lawyers are trained in the Gambia. Thank God we are having different, attitudes and approaches to the study and the practice of law. Recently, we celebrated 10 years of the law faculty. So, quite briefly, this is who I am. I and we have sons, and I have been involved in civic activities. I have been involved in the pro bono business, including serving as one of the officials of the Red Cross of Banjul, starting a foundation providing legal aid. So I mean, I have been in the space trying to fight the good fight as a Gambian, as a citizen of this country.
Oh, okay. When you say you started the law faculty, you came in as a professor or as a student?
We started as a part of the chief of the Gambia was a Pakistani, and the Gambia was a lot of changes to legal education. So it was his advice, and based on that, concept note was written, that was added to the legal fraternity to this in a program for the LLB program. This was Dr. Sidibe, who is a psychiatrist by training, who was also part of the university. And this was so the set of difficulties first headed by Mrs. Aissatou Jallo C, who is now, I think, working as a public effort from the Attorney General's chambers. I think at that time the advert was and Chief Justice Aissatou Pakani. So the Gambia Bar Association, the local, the attorneys and the judiciary came together and started this the faculty in 2007.
Okay.
So that's what I mean when I say we started.
Oh, you started it. Okay.
Law faculties. So we are the founding faculty.
Okay. Okay. That's good to hear, Mr. Tal. Now let's talk about your career as a politician, or you getting into politics. When did Mr. Tal get into politics?
I became in 2017. Even though, I mean, like most Gambians, I have always had sympathy for the political party, but also the party leader, because we had worked together at the judiciary. He was on the side of the defense, I was on the side of the state. So, you know, I have known him to be a man of great learning, a man of great integrity, a man, you know, who reads the history and the future of this country, especially where the rule of law is concerned. So in 2017, I went to see him and I expressed my interest to be part of the UDP. But I made it absolutely clear that I'm not seeking any particular office in the UDP. I am there to learn principally from him and his team of leaders, because they have been fighting for the last 22 years to change the destiny of this country. So, effort on my side, because ultimately, if you don't participate in the political process, it would be very difficult for you to turn around and say that things are not working, because the people who are in charge, for one reason or the other, have not prepared themselves for leadership. Because I think leadership, now, whatever your qualifications are in life, academia, is quite different from your readiness to lead people voluntarily. It was the best organized party. It was the home of professionals, considering Darboe himself, Mr. Almamy Fanding Taal, Darboe. These are all people who had careers before their political life. And it makes me feel like this is a party I can be part of and hopefully participate in making it even a better party. So that is how I got engaged into the party.
In
And
in 2017,
since then, I have to say I have been learning a lot.
Mr. Tal, we are talking about 2017 here. That is very recent. Hale kusi judu won sa feragulo. So which party did you belong to, or how you were never involved in politics until 2017 in the open? Of course, you live in Gambia. You have told us how the places you've worked at and the things you've done. But until 2017, you've not been involved in partisan politics, active party politics.
No. Yes, I have not been.
Okay.
Of course, when I was much younger, in my teenage years and my high school years, I was part of a youth action group in Banjul that was in our ward, the Newtown West Ward group, and it was affiliated to the PPP then. But even then, we were, you know, getting working politically, and that was the time that Halifa Sallah and the PDOIS came up as political movements. And some of us came of age and we became very conscious of the kind of narrative they were putting across. And we were sympathetic to their ideas. I remember there was one election by the time I was of a voting age. And in that election, I think I voted for Mr. Sam Sar. He was, but but it was pre-1996, 1994 rather. So it must have been either in 1990. There was an election before I went off to university. So really, I have not been partisan in my politics. But like I said, I have been quite sympathetic to the UDP because of Mr. Darboe and my association with him. In the last 20 years or so, the fact of the matter is that we needed to get more Gambians, especially the ones that are educated, to be involved, to be participating, because I think participating in the politics is really what we need to do as citizens, because if you don't, others will participate, and those others may not be able to do the things that you believe needs to be done.
But
So Mr. Juf,
yes.
when
did you know that though? You have been in Gambia, you are educated, you are an intellectual, you speak well, you have all of these things. So how comes you were taking a backbencher position or a bystander position all these years? Hana Yaya Jammeh nga ragaloon nak Yaya Jammeh ni ko Baba Jah di waxee daf dee londi butongo. Were you scared of Yaya Jammeh? Is why you were not fully involved in active party politics?
No. I mean, honestly, do affaire ragal, do prepare tamit. It was just not time for me to throw my hat in the ring, because for us, Malima Gum, my brother, Moine, su fekkee yaa ngi bokk ci xare. Then fight them with a very clean mind. Yes, Yaya Jammeh's time here was such bad news for everybody. Why? There was a program, Point newspaper. For a whole year, I was writing on the human rights and rule of law column. This was around 2008, 2009. Papsen Munnama said, British, they were trying to, support diverse voices. Apart from
what did you write about? What did you write about during those during that period? What did you write about? Langadan Binda? What did you write about?
Wow,
you wrote anything that was critical of Yaya Jammeh?
Basically, was about the constitution.
Did you condemn any of Yaya Jammeh's actions?
It was critical of the realities in the Gambia. No, I mean, I did not see it as my critical of anybody as a Gambian legal practitioner. I saw it as my task to explain what the position of the law is, where the rule of law is not being respected, and what are the concerns political enterprise. I was not, I remember I'm not there at times, Manma Madi Jobate, you don't celebrate Africa Day, Chi Brikama campus. Scattered Jane came there to be part of the program. Mom nim don waxe rek clearly he's better forming a political that would give him more protection, or he joins a political party, because there is no point you can make your point as part of a political party, then everybody knows that you are trying to get a legitimate political power the way you want it. Joining politics now, it's not the one because you are right, would like the question. Well, I put join political party that Doyle, the UDP, and the TRRC. Lulu is always a personal decision. Why to be able to comment as a citizen, you should do it every time, anytime, and you also have not to do it. Lulu, chila boka.
That's fair enough, Mr. Taal. But then, what is your reaction to people who say, people like you, Yena Yaha UDP, that you are an opportunist? You let people fought the fight until it is successful. People died, people were tortured, people went through all kinds of stuff, only for you to come and want to take over or hijack UDP. In fact, that is the position of a lot of people who were there, possibly victims ñoo xam ne jaar nañ fu nekk wala seen family members yi torox nañ ci jaar nañ ci, and all of a sudden we've seen the new UDP with a lot of new faces, the Almamy Fanding Taals, the Tombong Saidis, you name it. A lot of you young people, I mean, came on board. And of course, just watching an interview of the former Minister of Agriculture, Lamin Diba, he said it, that the young people and the intellectuals were not coming forward. They were not forthcoming. So what is your reaction to people who would take you as an opportunist, who waited until everything was put on a silver plate before you joined the party?
Well, I mean, these are people who have been in this thing. I quite frankly don't think that anything is on a silver plate. This is a process of renewal. There is a rebirth. Obviously, there were people who voluntarily joined the UDP then, and they suffered a very serious thing. It involves whether that suffering is in vain. Because to sit back and make and become a commentating class, explaining who should have what or who should not have what, is up to a person to choose that. For me, I choose to be part of the fight. The fight is still going on. I chose my own time, and I think as a free citizen of the country, I have every right to do that.
But don't you think the fight, you said the fight is still going? The hardest part of the fight, don't you think, is over with? That was trying to hold the bull by the horn when Yahya Jammeh was there, when people were being arrested, when people would not associate themselves with Lawyer Darboe, when people would not associate themselves with the UDP. Was that not a better time to have joined the fight? Right now, of course, who are you fighting with? It's just to enjoy, in fact, to consolidate what you already have. Would you not see it?
What do we already have to do?
Oh, of course.
What is there to enjoy? Because I think this kind of talk is not helping anybody. We have a country to everyone playing its role, asking all the questions. I'm just trying to bring the context within which I'm trying to operate. You're not obliged to be part of party. Some of you have continued.
Let me hang up the call and call back real quick, Mr. Taal. Let me see if it is going to be better. I'm having difficulty. It's breaking at some occasion. Let me just hang up the call. If you're just joining us, you are watching the Nyohobai show with Pa Usman Diouf. Lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal is my guest today. He is the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party. Mr. Taal is currently in our studios in the Gambia, actually. He is the one we are talking to right now. He's currently in our studios in the Gambia. And yes, we are talking to him about his role in the United Democratic Party. Yes, you can repeat what you just said, what you were saying a few minutes ago. You said what?
No, I'm just saying that joining any political party, any political project or process is up to the citizen. And also is you. It's not for any other citizen to judge that and come to a conclusion that you are doing it that you want to enjoy. I'm saying that we have a country to build. I mean, I'm sure you've been in the Gambia recently. You see that this country hasn't moved since we changed. And the work that is at hand is huge. And every Gambian should be focused on trying to put their contribution. I mean, the past week or so, we had the second Solo Sandeng Memorial Lecture to try and talk about issues that are going to uphold our democracy, that are going to help this change that we all fought for and yearn for. It is a choice for all of us to choose to associate with at any time. And for anybody to question or second guess my motives for joining the UDP, I mean, I really wouldn't spend any of my energy trying to defend or justify myself to any other Gambian. The whole political project really is about this. If you have ideas, you put them out there, and if the people support them, you are going to get when you should join, that is up to you. I genuinely believe that is a decision everybody has to arrive at.
Okay. Fair enough. From your
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
perspective or at a personal level, what have you contributed towards the removal of the
Mm-hmm.
dictatorship? Of course, it has been said, okay, a lot of people were in the forefront. Some went and fought the fight. Some were on social media commenting and doing stuff. Some contributed money. Religious people prayed. Voters went to vote. Politicians campaigned and then formed the political parties and this thing. Almamy Fanding Taal, personally, what have you contributed towards the removal of the dictatorship in the past 22 years?
Quite a few things. There was a debate that we conducted on American party leaders. Mr. Halifa Saleh was there, and the candidate,
Excuse me, Mr. Tal, it is breaking. I will have to call back. I am sorry, folks who are trying to follow us. We are having some network issues here. As you can see, Mr. Tal is in our studios in Canifing, while I'm here in Seattle, Washington, trying to have this interview. We apologize for that poor quality. I will bring him back right now. If you are just joining us, it's the Nyohobai show with the Gambian Talents TV. Pa Usman Diouf is the we're doing the interview right now. Fu ñu waay di dégloo ci ñeneenti ko ñi àdduna penku xarpu ngopp wala ngalando ñu ngi leen ay bégee bu baax a baax ci seen déglu bu rafet ak seen seetaan bu rafet. We will bring Mr. Tal back to try to talk to him. Hopefully it will be better now. Thank you. If you are just joining us, if you have any question for Mr. Tal, you can send the question to us and we will be glad to bring it or ask Mr. Tal the question for you. We'll bring him back. Yes, Mr. Tal, hello. Hello, Mr. Tal. Hello. Hello. Hello, Mr. Tal. If you are just joining us, it's the Nyohobai show on the Gambian Talents TV. Pa Usman Diouf is behind the microphone. Almamy Fanding Taal is our guest today, and we are talking to him about his role in ushering out the dictatorship in the Gambia. Yes, hello. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, we were breaking. It was breaking up, Mr. Tal. Yes, you were talking about. I asked you about your personal contribution in ushering out the dictatorship in the Gambia.
Yes, I was the president of the IVLP. That's the U.S. Alumni Association of leaders who had visited the U.S.
Okay.
And we had a project on civic education. We organized a presidential debate where Halifa Saleh was there. This was around November 29 or so. I remember after the debate at night, a friend of mine called me and told me, it seems as if you have put out your cards out there, and I'm worried for you that if you should get home safe. But most importantly, if at all this guy doesn't go on December 1st, I don't know how you are going to stay here because you are already a targeted person. Mr. Diouf, quite frankly, I really don't understand when these questions are asked, when they are asked by citizens. I think we all have contributed in this country. What all of us is how do we make this country transform and better. To personalize one's contribution or participation in the change, I don't know how to bring us together. I don't know how useful it is because the change is now a fait accompli. I have voted against this guy in all the elections I have voted. Luckily, this time around, it was with the majority of Gambians. Now, the change that we have is something that we all worked for. Those who were out there, those who lost family members, those who had to live in exile all these years. All these people have contributed. But I don't think it's the time now to measure the quantum of that contribution.
The argument that a lot of
is
the argument that a lot of people are making is that it took 22 years. The efforts that people made in 2016, if they were made in 2004, if they were made in 94, if they were made in 2008, Yaya Jammeh would have long been gone. So why people waited until 2016 or after 2016 to participate in it is the question that a lot of people are asking. People are asking.
Who is asking this question?
Trust me, people are asking. Even myself, I get poked
I
a lot.
agree, but who is asking it?
Even myself, I get poked a lot. Even myself, I get poked a lot.
The question is as if you have no contribution or no participation in that answer. Because all of us are equal in this country. It's the same people who were here from 2001 up to now. Of course, a lot of us have passed on. But it's the same people who were struggling since then, who are not to the end of it. Halifa Sallah was here, Samsar was here since, Sidi Ajata, Ousainou Darboe, the list goes on. So really, I mean, this kind of question, for me, quite frankly, I don't know what is the objective of the question, and I don't know what it achieved for the country. Because the change that we have fought for between 94 up to now is here. Some are no longer here to even be part of that change. But the change is important for us to appreciate and understand that it is something that the majority of Gambians wanted to happen in 2016, and so it has happened. And moving from that is what are the projects that are going to build this country and make it a great, prosperous, and democratic country. For me, that is the challenge, and probably those are questions we should be asking.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the UDP. Is there anything like UDP 1996 and UDP 2016? Given a background of what I have just discussed with you, some people say UDP 96 are the people who died for UDP, people that have been there for the longest, people whose blood and tears have they have put out for the UDP, people whose money built UDP, people who supported UDP, people who associated themselves with UDP when nothing was nothing. And people that are considered UDP 2016 fu tooy ñu tak, of course mooy ñi nga xam ne dañ xaar ba yëf yi sotti rek ñu door a ñëw and join the party in full force, and of course the intellectuals and all the other people that are now there who actually some of them were in the system supposedly working with Yaya Jammeh and did a lot with Yaya Jammeh and enabled Yaya Jammeh supposedly are now part of the UDP, and they are considered to be UDP 2016 by some. But then from the party standpoint, do we have UDP 2016 and UDP 1996?
No, I'm sorry, Mr. You've UDP Kankiling, UDP Benabat, UDP has been one, and those people that you've mentioned, their heroism, their sacrifice, ñoom liñ sonal réew mi ñëpp gis nañ ko, ñëpp yëg nañ ko, ñëpp xam nañ ko. So ñu li ñoo wax rek mooy ne kër nag soo fa juddoo foog nga am ay mag, foog nga am ay rakka. ñun ñëpp duñ dee ñëw at the same time. And it's very important pour nit ñi ñu understand loolu. ne parti boo xam ne dafa barke. parti boo xam ne dafa foog rek muy am ay ñu ees, am ñoo xam ne ñu ngi woon yeneen kër sax ñu ñëw sëy si kër googu. lii yëpp ci politique la xëj parce que nit ñi léegi dañu war a bàyyi seen xel bu baax. su ñoo wax affaire yi UDP. ndax li fi nekkoon démb ba tey mu ngi fi anti yam moo nekk suñ deputy party leader Ousainou Darboe mooy suñ party leader. Lamin Diba kii naka la tudda Amadou Sané bi ñoo wax affaire yi UDP 2016 ñoo ñëpp a ngi woon ci prison. Solo Sandeng dee na nekkaatu fi. so yu bari moo ci nekk yoo xam ne su fekkee ne dañ bëgg a waxtaan ci dëgg rek. ñu boole loolu tamit si suñu waxtaan parce que ñun ñëpp ñëwandooruñ ci ànd ci benn time kër sax soo bokkee soo mun ngaa bokkaa nit ki ndey ak baay waaye ngeen am 20 years different boo xam ne sax bokku leen doo leen bokk jamono sax am na kër yoo xam ne seen mag yi dañ magante ak seen rakay bu baax a baax. So loolu nag loolu àddina moo mel noonu. ñu fa nekkoon démb. ëllëg dina am ñu fa fekka ñoo ne dañ bokk si UDP. last weekend rek about 2 weeks ago. Amadou Scatter Diané kooku ñëpp. am nañ am nga soo waxtaan affaire yi politique baax na rek pour ñuy laayante biir ñu gëm ne daal politique affaire yi bokka boole mbooloo moo tax ñu def politique. démocratie affaire yi mbooloo la. te su fekkee yaa ngi ut mbooloo. dafa am yoo xam ne boo ko mun a seet wax ne ñi démba dañ toogoon bi affaire yi di naxari kenn ñëwut dugg na fii wala nii la tegee. ñun lu nekk li xew nii fu mu nekk nii ñëpp a ngi koo gis. koo seede waaye dama bëgg rek pour ñi ñoo dégg ñoo seetaan ñu understand ne parti bi am na démba. li ñoo jéem fu mu nekk nii parti li li moo wax saa yu nekk mooy bëgg na ëllëg doomam yi sëtam yi toog fiir réew mi loolu la laaj fu mu nekk nii ëllëg naka lañ ko mun a sàmmee. naka la ñoo mun a amee ëllëg. so my brother suñ waxtaan li ci gën a am solo mooy ñu jéem a xelaat loolu parce que am na politique bu fi nekkoon biñ fi génn. politique yi mbumbaay politique yi tega sabar politique yi waxi neen. loo xam ne amalul kenn njëriñ. politique boobu la at fii. man naa def maa génnee robaatuñu kenn nekkul suñ kaw bakkan yi. liñ war a def mooy ñu liggéey soo yaamun li yaamun la dafa ñu gis rek. loolu rek moom la taskati xibaar yi loolu lañ ko war di laaj. waaye moom fexe na ba nga xam ne kenn mënu koo laajati. kenn mënu taa waxtaan ak moom. naka la ñoo laaj yaa UDP nii nale Ousainou Darboe nii Ousainou Darboe na waaye ndeyu mi la mi dañ leen dem ngeen laaj ko nag. waaye loolu mënut a am.
waaw yow yaa ngi ne UDP naka parti Mbumbaay moo fi nekkoon party and the like politique in Mumbai and the like. A lot of people are attributing the same thing to UDP. I remember when we covered like almost every party that UDP, every rally that UDP has. Every weekend, UDP has been having rallies, especially lately, and the same trend continues. Music is provided, feature, nano, waxtaan, and of course, all the things that were happening. A lot of people knew the same trend that continues with UDP.
From summer to around here. Digala am na ñoo xam ne because ñu ngi jógee fu sori. Dinañ am luñ añee wala luñ lekka. Waaye gisuma fa Mbumbaay. Man Mbumbaay bi ma wax mooy politique bi nga xam ne doo am loo wax gannaaw kii moo mun lii kii moo mun lale. ñun fu mu nekk suñ politique dafa war a passé loolu. ndax su fekkee ne sax mu ngi mu ngi des ci ay members of UDP war nañoo jóg waxtaan ak ñooñu ne leen lépp léegi li xew si dëkk bi mooy dëkk bi dafa jar pour ñu liggéey ko. ku bokk ci politique da ngaa dem nga jéem am métier am xam-xam am mun-mun pour dimbale réew mi politique warta nekkee ne liggéeyu kaay la. politique war na nekk ne da nga dem dafa yoon boo xam ne dafa dimbali réew mi yóbbu réew mi ci kanam da ngaa seet quality politicien si nekk Sénégal yi nekk ak yeneen ñu fan seen xam-xam seen mo léegi la jógee si politique yi Sénégal ki win foofu noonu président bi kooku ingénieur la nekk na ci government Sénégal li ma wax rek mooy ne baax na rek pour suñoo wax affaire yi réew mi ñun ñëpp ñu xam ne réew mi ñoo ko bokka ndey ak baay ñun ñoo juddoo ci benn kër waaye bi ñoo egga ci kër gi ak kañ la ñoo juddu loolu nekkul loo xam ne suñ loxo la nekka foog ñu fekkante ba pare ñu war a mun a dégluwante mu war a diisoo war a xam ne ëllëg dafa am te su fekkee ne liggéeyuñ tey ëllëg du mun a am.
Yeah, Mr. Taal, you mentioned UDP kankeling, UDP benna bopa, benna bat and the like. That used to be a slogan for UDP. But right now, it is apparent that the UDP is outrightly divided. Of course, with Camp Barrow and Camp Darboe, or Camp Barrow Youth Movement versus Camp Barrow UDP, and this is obvious. We've seen a lot of big players in the UDP. ñoo xam ne both locally ak ñi nekkoon bitim réew ñoo xam ne ñoom Alkali Conte ñoom Lamine Cham you name it.
Who is Alkali Conte? Alkali Conte?
Of course, Alkali Conte was a good member of the UDP, and we've heard recently even Barrow talking about him.
Alkali Conte was in the diaspora. He was a diaspora leader of UDP.
Yes, the chairman. Yes. So, yes, but he was. He was. Of course, Nekon diaspora chairman, Nekon diaspora. That's somebody you had trust in. That's somebody that you respected. That's somebody you thought could do things for the party at the time. When it comes to mobilization, when it comes to representing, when it comes to selling the image of the party.
Well, watching the anti-diaspora, we've I don't think the consensus among diaspora.
Okay, what is the consensus? What is the consensus? I'm asking you. That's why I have you here. I'm asking you the question. You are the spokesperson. Huh?
No. That's trying to answer. Money. The diaspora, a lot of them have come to town and explained. He is a divisive figure. He is a character.
You see, Mr. Taal, this sounds very interesting because when he was there all along, for a long time, until, in fact, when the government came, he was hired or called to come back and serve the country. All along, he wasn't. But then when things go wrong, now we want to bring out all of these things about him. We want to label him as a divisive figure. Didn't we know that about him before when he was serving?
We are not serving.
Excuse me, that was breaking. You say what now?
No. So where was he serving?
Where was he serving? Right now he's serving the government. He's serving when he was serving the UDP. I mean, when he was serving the UDP,
when was he serving the UDP?
You just said it. He was the chairman of the UDP diaspora. You just said it, right? Didn't you just say that to me?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was that not serving UDP?
Yes.
And we had Barrow candidate. We had the now President Barrow, then candidate Barrow, just last week mentioned his name when he was the one who mobilized the little resources they have. Binyogina Purwara them defi the UDP campaign in 2016 when Alkali mobilized the little resources that they could have.
In that regard, quite frankly, Mr. Youth, in that regard, I cannot 16 people once who had come home to clarify who was in the service of UDP. You are the journalist here. You are the custodian of records. All I can say is that now, by far, almost all diaspora people, when they come to UDP, they engage me directly as the spokesman of the party. And they tell me things that I was not privy to and I am not party to. And in fact, I don't think it's appropriate for me to speak to 2016 about who was doing what for UDP or not doing anything. All I know that from 2016 onwards, this gentleman has been described variously by UDP members. Some the diaspora particularly, and because he is not known here, nobody knows him in Gambia. Just like around the president, there is no track record that people can use to judge them and say, oh, this person, this is what he has done for UDP, or this was the office he was occupying here for the UDP.
How about Maimuna Sise though? If you say that Alkali Conte was not was a divisive character in UDP based on information you gather from the UDP folks in the diaspora. How about Maimouna Cissé, who your party leader himself had called on to actually come and be back to where to be back to her home, which is UDP. The Secretary General himself acknowledged Maimouna Cissé's role in the United Democratic Party and everything that she did. Maimouna Cissé of New York, obviously, and the party leader himself acknowledged her contribution, her presence, and that she was an asset to UDP who sacrificed. And we have seen lately Maimouna coming out to actually defend some of those statements. How about people like Maimouna? They were in UDP and they're no longer there, and your party leader is even calling her to come back.
Yes, but this may be the case. I don't know a lot of the movers and shakers of the UDP then, and even maybe now. All I can say, all I want to say, is that the UDP as a party is continuing to strengthen its messages, is continuing to reform, modernize structures, and make it a more relevant party for the 21st century, away from the politics of just talking about individuals and persons that you cannot describe really what was their contribution or how important their contribution has been towards building this country.
No, I asked you this question and you asked me to mention names. We are going that way because you asked me to mention names. I told you if UDP is divided, you said UDP can't.
I went that
you said
I don't think it's
you said UDP cankling, and I'm trying to show you that, well, UDP is divided. There are people who were strong pillars of the UDP supposedly.
UDP is not divided. You have given names. You have given me individual names. Individuals come and go, but the party is one. Is unified. Is one. So it's as simple as that. You know, I mean, I also mentioned that Scattered has just joined us recently. People are coming every day through, you know, other channels and say that they want to join the party.
Well, so how about people who think?
So,
okay,
so having Alkali Conte or Maimouna Cissé or whoever else you have in their country doesn't mean that UDP is divided. It means that 3 or 4 individuals have chosen to go and, you know, find their destiny somewhere else.
So we are talking about
about this. Nobody can divide UDP.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we are talking about people who had influence, people who were there. Obviously, for Ousainou Darboe,
what is their influence? This is what I don't understand, Mr. Diouf. What is their influence? Where does that influence come from?
If because of time, I will not play it. If I were to play Mr. Darboe's the video in which Mr. Darboe was appealing for Maimouna to come, you can see the way he is talking. You can see
But you know, I think sometimes to make this mistake. Mr. Darboe is the Secretary General of the party. He's the party leader, but he's not UDP. UDP is a collective. It's a movement.
Why don't you think
sometimes his statements, you know, people think that this is what UDP is.
Mr. You see, I just had this conversation with one of your supporters or militants, Pata PJ, over the weekend here in Seattle, and I told them, Mr. Darboe is the Secretary General of UDP, and wherever he makes a statement, especially at a political rally or a UDP gathering, obviously that will be taken as the position of the United Democratic Party. He is associated with the UDP brand, even if he is not acting on behalf of the UDP. But when we invited them, for example, you coming here, most of what you're going to say here, besides a few personal questions I ask you about yourself, everything you say, I am taking it to be the stance of the UDP, the position of the UDP. So if Mr. Darboe also talk,
and so you should, because all my engagements, all my engagements have been cleared by the executive, especially during this time. That is why I'm trying to tell you that anybody claiming to have influence in UDP or anybody to that they are speaking for UDP, we have to be quite circumspect. The party leader, because of his standing in the party over these years, he is in a position to tell you that, oh, when everything was down, I could rely on A or B or C.
And Maimuna Sise happens to be one of those people, though. The party leader himself talking and appealing to her.
I'm sure she is.
Yes, the party leader himself.
I'm sure she is.
Okay.
But recently of KMC region.
Yes.
In the Gambia, Mr. Undanyang,
yes,
was removed by the regional committee.
Okay.
All the constituencies that are there, Unda. And Unda is known to be a very good friend and associate of Mr. Darboe. But Mr. Darboe could not do anything. It's the people in KMC who said that he is not serving the interests of our party here. So they removed him. So I'm trying to make the point that let us be clear in the political scene. That some days you will hear certain statements coming from the Secretary General and the party leader. Of the moment, it may be, but if personalities and personal interests as far as the health and the wealth of the party is concerned, I am here to correct you that, look, some of the views are espoused, some of the things that I say, everybody, but as I spoke, I don't say anything is out of executive's positions. The executive is the position, is the place where we take UDP positions.
So you think people that were influential, like the Undanyangs you mentioned, the Maimuna Sises and all the others who were very influential in the party and they left, you, in your view, or the view of the party is that their leaving has no impact on the UDP. Is that what you're trying to say?
Zero. No impact at all. The influence, you got it because of UDP.
Okay.
That was
okay.
Do you remember this guy, the man of Ndam? What is his name?
Wajwara. I have a question for you. I have a question for you about him.
He was very influential in UDP. Where is he now?
Well, I have a question about him for you. Recently, he did an interview in which he's calling Ousainou a coward and talking about 1996 when Ousainou jumped the fence and went to the Senegalese embassy and all other occasions in which Ousainou never came out, that Ousainou is a coward and is not a good leader, wasn't fit to be a leader. A politician should be strong to hold the bull by the horn, and Ousainou wasn't ready for that. What is your reaction to his statement?
Oh, well, you know, at a certain age, when you talk like this, people think either you are crazy or, you know, you are a foolish old man, you know. Because really, I don't think the heroism of Ousainou Darboe is endowed with anybody. And I mean, Wajwara is the last person, you know, to talk about courage. That guy has no backbone, moral or political or social. So really, I mean, it's too rich for him to say that. Ousainou Darboe was in prison when the Gambia was being liberated. I think that in itself speaks about it. And, you know, he did not have to go out in the streets. You know, sometimes this is what I'm saying. I don't seem to contextualize it. The history that has happened in this country is not very old. So we have to be faithful to that, you know. When he made those kind of comments, the comeback should be, but Mr. Darboe has done this and this also. I mean, as if people don't know what Mr. Darboe has done and who Lamin Wajwara is.
It's not about, he's not questioning, I mean, some of the things he did, but he's calling him a coward. He talked about him going to the Senegalese embassy and several other occasions.
How do you call Mr. Darboe, Mr. Diouf? Let me ask you a straight question.
I am not here to answer questions. You are the one answering questions. You are the one answering questions, not me.
No. But you are bringing a third party who is not relevant to anything that we are discussing now, and you know you are asking me to react to that. I have reacted to it, and you are, you know.
Well, you brought his name up first. You forgot that, like on 2 occasions, You are bringing up names or bringing questions in which, when I ask you further questions, you change your stance or something. You brought his name up. You
No, I
told me.
don't change my stance, Mr. Duke.
Uh-huh.
No, I'm trying to explain.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one who brought the scenario
Mm-hmm.
that this is what Wajuara said.
Yes.
You had interviewed Mr. Darboe before. I'm
Yes.
asking you a simple question.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what Mr. Juara said, nobody is going to listen to him.
Okay.
He has no credibility, he has no phone. And, you know, I made it absolutely clear. At a certain age, you either think they have lost their mind or, you know, they have become foolish old men.
Okay.
This is what I said. That's my response.
Okay.
But you repeated the scenario. I ask you, you have met Mr. Darboe. You
Uh-huh.
have seen his acts of heroism.
Mm-hmm.
You should certainly be able to comment on that.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's not for me to comment, but for you to comment and make the and inform us actually as far as you and your party stance is concerned. I always refrain from answering questions for my guests, but then ask the questions for you to answer because I invited to ask you questions, and we will move on away from that. The next question I want to ask you is about 2016, when the election was held on December 1st. Darboe and them were in prison, and then on the 5th they were released from prison. People said the coalition was very effective at the time. A lot of things were happening between stakeholders, coalition stakeholders. But effective that 5th, when Darboe came out, a lot of people said that things started changing and that he started taking charge. Matter of fact, a lot of people said he became the president and Barrow was just the mouthpiece to some extent. And we've had politicians like OJ Jallo even said that when Darboe came out of prison is when a lot of these things happen. Is it true that Darboe was in charge and that he broke the coalition apart?
No, it's not true.
Okay, what's the justification?
I think we overestimate the power of Mr. Darboe.
Okay.
This was a coalition of 7 parties.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the PPP, the DOIs of this world, and the NCP. These are known quantities.
Mm-hmm.
But the My Fati party, the Henry Gomez party, I mean, quite frankly, these are no parties. You know, either one-man parties or one neighborhood parties. So when the election was done, they were giving their agreement or understanding. Naturally, because we have always said that as a party, we were the biggest opposition party. All the other opposition parties did not accept that. In fact, to my mind, the coalition itself, its challenges, its problems at the moment, have their origins in the way the coalition was put together. The way the coalition was put, the youngest candidate to emerge from the primaries to resign from his party and become an independent person. Politics is always about numbers, is always about colors, is always about your party.
Mm-hmm.
To go to a coalition election
Mm-hmm.
because you are a party leader,
Mm-hmm.
and to be required to resign from your party as long as you have been successful,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I thought there was a deficit of good faith on the part of the others.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were trying as much as possible, according to the rules that they have come up with,
Mm-hmm.
to delegitimize the majority of the UDP.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of the UDP is clear
Mm-hmm.
because their candidate, their flag bearer, eventually became the flag bearer of the coalition.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have been another way that anybody who wins this primary, we will all join and follow that party. It could have been a party-led coalition, which has been successful in any place. No, I have never a country where you have an independent coalition candidate winning. So to Mr. Where they started, you coalition and said that the majority party is not the majority party. Even if the person should resign from the majority party. I mean, it's a wonderful thing that the coalition delivered us from this dictatorship. But it also created this situation where this political jockeying continues, because now the person who was UDP flag bearer, now coalition president, has now become interested in perpetuating his political control of the Gambia. And the people who were very instrumental and who showed outstanding leadership during the coalition formation and during the impasse, those same people said that they are no longer interested in coalition discussions. So I think the problems of the coalition is very convenient for people to say that they started with the release of Ousainou Darboe, that Ousainou Darboe was playing some games. Ousainou Darboe, when the National Assembly elections were coming, he said, no, we are going as a political party. We have been fighting this political process as a party for the last 22 years. But anywhere that the coalition members are standing as candidates, we will not put up a candidate. This is the case in Serekunda. This is the case in Wuli. This is the case in Nyamina. So really, at the end of the day, what we want to be clear about, Mr. Juve, is that the UDP in 3 elections thereafter has demonstrated that it has a legitimate majority in the parliamentary elections, in the local government elections, in the mayoral and chairman election that happened throughout the country. In all these 3 elections, the majority of the UDP is unquestionable.
I want to
Therefore,
take you.
Everybody who wants.
I want to take you back to a couple of things you said. One, you seem to have discredited GMC, my party's party, and Henry Gomez's party, and we have heard from my
party. I'm not discrediting them. I'm saying they are no man party, one man party. Okay, that's what I'm saying. It's not discrediting them.
Is that not
who else is in GMC?
Well, who else is in GMC? We have heard from my party and other stakeholders, OJ and others, who said that in fact they are the ones who mobilized their people, because during those primaries, the convention of the coalition 2016, each party, it doesn't matter whether it was UDP or any other party, each of them brought in their 70 delegates, and each of those people, it was their people who actually voted for Adama Barrow, because UDP only brought in their delegates. It was these parties who actually brought in their their delegates to vote for Adama Barrow, because UDP only brought in their own delegates. So it was the delegates from the other parties who they have encouraged to actually vote for Adama. That's why Adama ended up winning. So why would you call those parties a one-man party when they brought in delegates who actually voted in for the UDP candidate to win the primaries?
You know for a fact, let us not pull and push over. You know that for a fact that this is what has happened.
What I am looking at it, whether they are the ones who influence their people or not.
No, I'm just asking.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, like I told you earlier, I will not answer the question. But looking at the situation, Adama has over 200 votes. 200 votes. Adama had over 200 votes. Yes. Obviously, UDP brought in only 70 delegates. So the other delegates, the other people who voted for Adama, must have come from the other parties. And they said it was their party people who voted for them.
Obviously, they have come from the other parties as delegates.
Yes.
But their reasons or what made them vote for this, for Adama, I don't know how you are able to determine that. This is what I'm saying.
I am telling you what they said. I'm telling you what they said.
I'm
telling you what they said. OJ said it. My party said it. That he even convinced Henry.
I had different.
Yes.
I had different.
Okay. What did you hear? Tell us what you heard.
No. I'm not. Like I said, I'm not at liberty to say certain things on this platform. All I'm trying to say is that after the coalition, we have had 3 successive elections. And our majority there, I don't think anybody can question it.
That was the second question. That was the second question I was going to ask you from your statement that you just made. From your response to me, you mentioned that UDP did not contest anywhere where the other coalition stood or contested. Yes, where DOI contested and some of the other, but then where PPP contested and some of those places, UDP had candidates there.
Yeah.
So how would you said UDP came with the tactical alliance and that anywhere any member of the coalition was going to contest, UDP wouldn't. But UDP did contest in some places where the coalition stakeholders did contest. How would you
and we
reconcile
lost.
that?
We lost.
Yeah,
we
how
lost.
would you reconcile that?
Particularly.
Yes, but then if you are telling us that UDP did not contest anywhere the coalition contested, but then UDP actually did contest in some places where some coalition contested, especially Banjul, you just said it.
Yes. It may have been an error in my characterization of the situation. All I want to say that in Serekunda and in Wuli and in Nyamina, UDP did not contest because they believe that Halifa Saleh, Sidi Ajata, and Ahmad Ba. These were the parties that really stood very solidly for the coalition. And out of consideration for their contribution, we are not going to fight it out with them.
So it was it was selective. It was selective, right?
Yeah, it was selective. Yes.
Animal farm. Some animals are more equal than others, right?
No, it's not that. It's not that at all. It's just political strategy. You know, sometimes this is what I find very amusing because people characterize situations and they feel satisfied that you know, this is selective. They are trying to be opportunistic. This is politics.
Bro, da ngeen doon xeex rek. OJ daf doon def ak teeg yéen ngeen defanteeg moom. Da ngeen doon xeex rek loolu la. If you go nasty, we go nasty. If you go nasty, we go nasty. Well, this was if you go nasty, we go nasty, right? Huh? If you go nasty. So mbolo mi moo leen wax ngeen dem taxaw Banjul ak yeneen place yi, right?
No, foofu Banjul li fa xew suñ député bi fa nekkoon PC yàlla jëlee na ko fi bu yàggut nii Ibrahima Ndiaye PC moom mu ngi feebaroon sax waaye kóllare rek moo doxoon suñ diggante moom ak parti bi ndax mu ngi doon xeexal parti bi for all these years waxoon nañ ko ne ko yow sax sa yaram neexul waaye comme que moom loolu la mu ne loolu la bëggoon a def daal ba you know yàlla jëlee ko fi si la taxaw waaye PC taxawoon na foofu as UDP candidate Banjul Central man foofu mooy suma constituency you know all those years ago liggéeyal na réew mi li ma wax rek mooy ne politique bi dafa baax rek pour ñun ñëpp ñuy wax li muy leer.
Well, but then in fact GMC Maifati and Hamad Ba joined the UDP. We all saw that the press conference that Darboe did with them when they were having the that tactical alliance stuff. They joined UDP. So all of a sudden, learn more change, Hannah, because ñoom then join on with Darboe.
No,
shortly before the National Assembly.
ci doorin bi dama la wax parce que nit ko xam ne amuloo mbooloo nga ne da nga bugg a bokk ci jongante politique loolu da nga ko dee def su fekkee ne nit ñi ñëpp ñu ngi pare pour déglu la waaye jamono mu ngi dox ñun ñëpp gis nañ fan la mbooloo bi wéeru Gambia fu mu nekk nii mbooloo bi ñu ngi topp UDP loolu nag yàlla moo ko def Gambien si ñoo taana UDP jox leen doole bi ñu leen jox nii.
I asked Mr. Darboe the same question when he was here, when I interviewed him. Fabakary Tombong Jatta made the same claim. Of course, you just saw recently what they have, the numbers they got. Sisen Tobi guy dem ni. Gis nañ li guy defoon buffer zone. Gis nañ the 50,000 people they pulled, I mean, Sisen 50,000 rally bi. So how can you actually justify this to us? Because Mama Kande claims the same thing. He was just at Birkama this last weekend. The same thing with Fabakary Tombong Jatta. So you have these major parties that are all claiming to be the biggest. How can UDP justify that they are the biggest?
Well, the mayor of Banjul is from UDP. The mayor of KMC is from UDP. The mayor of West Coast region is from UDP. The chairman of LRR, all the way to Basse. All of these people are elected by Gambians. The National Assembly, we have 31 members there in our name. So, you know, manly, so we weren't a Wuhan.
Wow.
Election more one yan ambolo wala nyana amun bolo. So, lolu waxtaan bobu foguma ne war nga ko laaj kenn. Parce que results ñu fa. Mayor of Banjul, mayor of KMC, chairman of West Coast region, like that. Election rek mo la muna wone dëgg bi. Election nak soretul.
That is true, Mr. Taal, that you guys have all these mayoral or chairmanship positions that the UDP has right now, and that you had 31 seats in the National Assembly. But then you will also agree that this is a simple majority, absolute majority, simple majority la. So hole ñom ñep seen votes yi. Rohilo did not win with more than 1,000 votes. If two people in Banjul, two other candidates were to come to be added to Laiba, who was her seconder, they don't win Rohilo. The same thing with Talib Bensouda of KMC. Kuneka si ñom. UDP won by simple majority and not the absolute majority though. So go ahead.
Mr. Diouf, Mr. Diouf, ñun système lañ am, réew mu nekk système la doxé. Système boobu moo fi nekk de. Da nga bëgg ñu change ko.
You asking me questions. Wana la man duma la dedet waaye su fekkee ne simple majority la. That doesn't mean the majority of Gambians.
Soo ko wax dafa mel ni da nga wax loo xam ne da nga wax ci ngelaw gi rek. Parce que système bi moo fi nekk nii lañ di amee élection fii.
So would you rather keep that system or you want that system changed? What is your take on simple majority and absolute majority?
Loolu yëpp we get a constitutional review.
Wow.
We are going through this constitutional review process. It's for the Gambian people. Li ñoo wax ni coow li yëpp Gambians ñoo ko determine. Ñun li ñoo wax daal système bi fi nekk dañ ko jéem a defar mu gën a baax mu njëriñ réew mi. Dañoo jéem pour li ñoo def rek ñu def ko ci yoon. Loi yi lan lañ tëral naka lañ war a doxalee suñ mënee def loolu tey mun koo def ëllëg mun koo def gannaaw ëllëg. Ñun si loolu lañ nekk rek. Parce que li ma bëggoon rek waxtaan bi mu gën a seet mooy ne li xew na. li passé na. ëllëg lan lañ bëgg a def pour nga xam ne ku eewoo Gambia fii rek da ngaa ne man de suma réew fu mu nekk nii dëgg kontaan naa ci ni moo doxalee. lii nag yéen mi de taskat yéen mi tas xibaar yéen a ko mun a laaj nit ñi nga xam ne ñoo ñëw ne mun nañoo liggéeyal réew mi parce que réew mi dafa laaj liggéey foo dem xale xëy soo demee ci ne amuñu garab yaa ngi nii day waar dem ak ñëw bi mu ngi jafe lu nekk moo jafe Gambia foofu mu nekk so yow su fekkee ne yaa ngi nekk ci place nit ñi di cotiser di la jox impôt di la jox naamo di la jox lu nekk yow soo xëyee suba nekk dara gannaaw xuloo ak xicoo ak wax yoo xam ne amul benn njëriñ dajale ay nit ñoo xam ne amul benn njëriñ yooyu nag jotaay nekk ni ñu seet suñ dëkkandoor yi suñ nawle yi Sénégal naka la ñoo doxalee su fekkee ne jox nañ la liggéey pour nga liggéey dañ koo def waaye su fekkee ne yow mënuloo liggéey ndax musuloo liggéey sax amuloo nguur ni moo doxee am nga loolu lu daw yaram la loolu lu doy waar la sax ci réew mi waaye loolu duñ ko def parce que ñi dee taar amul leen il mooy wane ne UDP ñoo demee nii ñoo demee na lee UDP ñoo wax lii ñoo fi waxoon la lee ñoo fi génnoon ci lii UDP dafa nekk ñaari baat li ma wax rek mooy Mr. Diouf UDP du moom rek mooy parti fii parti bu mel ni doy mu ngi fii ëpp na ñetti fukki at ak dara ba tey mbooloo bi leen yàlla jox moom rek la gaay am su fekkoon ne amoon nañ mbooloo biñ bëggoon ñoom ñooy amee Gambia ndax kenn du ne la Halifa Sallah manduwul wala dégguwul wala jàngu wala ku baax kenn du daan liggéey déggu para why
So is that why you didn't join them? Is that why you didn't join DOI? I had your interview in which you said you were inspired by DOI and you said you even voted for them in the past. So is that why you didn't join them? Because you don't think they have the numbers, which is widely believed by a lot of people. Na DOI ku len sanil tamit duñ dem parce que Gambien ci gomuñ len waye li ñoo wax yépp Gambien ci xam nañ ne lu tegu la. Sen ideology is great. Is that why you didn't join DOI when you wanted to join politics?
No, it's because I think their approach and their strategies, I see political process. The political process is about possibilities. It's about persuading. It's about changing things. It's nice to be a commentator or to be an educator. But you can be a commentator and be an educator and be also an effective political leader. Political leader is about harnessing political power to change things. Because all these ideas, great as they are, if they don't have the time of day to walk around in the world, they will become nothing. People forget this. China, from 1978, it has Paris, most powerful economy in the world. What is? It took America 200 years, it took Britain 500 years, like that. It took places like smaller than them, like years. So I'm saying politics is not about the brilliance of ideas or your outstanding oratory or integrity. It's also about getting your idea so that people can actually can change things.
You are watching.
So the reason why I did not join DOI
Go
is
ahead.
because I started going towards 21st century politics. This is a politics where even citizens are journalists. Even citizens can blog and have opinions, and they can take all kinds of facts with the greatest respect and regard I have for these gentlemen. I think their time has passed, and the time for new leadership, for a different kind of leadership, is what we need to cultivate in the Gambia.
You are watching and following the Nyohobai show on the Gambian Talents TV. Pa Usman Diouf is your host, and lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal, the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party, is my guest. You have heard what he said. It's good to be intellectuals. It's good to have all this knowledge and everything. But then he thinks that DOI, their style, whatever it is, this minute, it's time to have a new leadership, a new style of leadership. I ask you my next question, Mr. Taal. A lot of people believe the same with the UDP, though, that they have been there too for over 20-something years, especially the leadership on the top from Lawyer Darboe to Amadou Sane and all of them, and that it's about time that they give up the position. What's your reaction to that? You just said it about DOI. How about the UDP?
UDP. Yeah. I mean, UDP has a whole generation of new leaders. I was showing the mayor of Banjul, the mayor of Kings, cross country, councillors, members of parliament. It's not only UDP in UDP that is the leadership of the UDP. So I really think it's very funny that 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, we were happy to have Ousainou Darboe lead the parade to demand for the body of Solo Sandeng, dead or alive, go to prison and come out, and then you say, oh, this old man should be retired. I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. Nelson Mandela came out of prison after 27 years, and he was made president.
In fact, one of the comments on YouTube right now, somebody said that if Darboe was still in mile 2, then there would not have been any. If he didn't go to mile 2, there would not have been any coalition. That's what the person said. What's your reaction to that? even though he went. UDP stance has always been a party-led because you believe you are the majority. I've heard you said it multiple times, and you said it again now. In 2016, a lot of people believe it's because Darboe was in jail. That's why the UDP agreed to the type of coalition that ended up happening. But if Darboe was out, there would not have been a coalition like that. What's your reaction to that?
This is just speculation, and you know it. I mean, what would have happened, would not have happened. Nobody knew. If Solo Sandeng was not assassinated in broad daylight, taken to the place and beaten to death, 20 or 30 more other people, will we have this change? I don't think so. So really, I mean, in politics, any attempt to delegitimize our majority will be met very squarely on the face. It is the case that the UDP has the majority in this country. And we are willing to work with everybody and anybody to build a progressive, cohesive society. But the time has passed for people to think that just by expressing an opinion like that, if Ousainou Darboe this or if Ousainou Darboe that, that time is passed with the UDP.
Tony Toff, the commentator for that, the commentator who said that is Tony Toff. Tony Toff on YouTube said he just confirmed that if lawyer Darboe was not jailed, there will not be any coalition. I mean, that if lawyer Darboe was in jail, there would not be any coalition because all along from the
comments, I don't know why do you want me to react to them? It's an idle comment. Who does he represent? Who is he talking for?
Okay.
Mr. Yu, please let us focus on the interview. I can wake up in the morning and go and say all kinds of idle and still think with access to internet and I can put all kinds of that. But what is the basis? of that
but what I'm saying is we have heard Ousainou Darboe himself say in an interview. I listened to his interview, one of his interviews, in which he said that some of the things that the coalition agreed on, especially the 3 years where he was talking about it, the 3 years versus the 5 years, that if he was to be involved, he wouldn't have agreed to that. And that's one of the places in which he said, whoever wants to champion this 3 years issue, he will see you in court and everything. In that interview, Mr. Darboe's stance that he said, partly, of course, has to do with the agreement that they had. So which means that if he was there, he might not have agreed to some of these things. What is your take on especially the issue of the 3 years versus the 5 years?
That might be. So agreement was pursuant to the executive committee of the UDP. It was not only Auntie Yam, who was the party deputy leader, but the whole executive that was convened at that time. And people also forget that UDP had a congress, and Mr. Barrow was the flag bearer for the UDP before all this talk about coalition. So really, I mean, Mr. Juf, I just want it to be clear. Comments that people make about Mr. Darboe, in most cases, Mr. Darboe is talking party position. But for example, if I am doing a live interview or I am talking to the media, it may be pursuant to comment of the media practitioner asking certain kinds of questions. I'm giving certain kinds of answers. Now, whether those questions or answers are the party's position is something that only Mr. Darboe can explain. I'm saying that speculating about the presence or absence of Mr. Darboe at the table at any given time, it's just that it's speculation. It's people who don't have anything else to do.
But I told you, Mr. Darboe himself said that if he was out there, he wouldn't have agreed to the 3 years. He said this in a Gizgiz interview. The interview that Mr. Darboe had with Gizgiz, you can go back and pull it. We don't have time. I will not play it. But Mr. Darboe said it there that if he was to be out.
I remember.
Yes.
He will not have agreed.
Yes. So that is Mr. Darboe talking. That is nobody giving us that comment. That is Mr. Darboe himself talking. Your face is cutting. If you want to lean back a little bit, your face is cutting. Your face is getting cut. If you want to lean back a little bit, if you don't mind. Pour ñu mun la gis rek sa bop bi mu ngi dog sa kanam gi. Yes, I said that was Mr. Darboe himself talking. He said that he wouldn't have agreed, and I think you just concurred with me, right?
I said no, I did not concur with you. I said that what Mr. Darboe says in the context of an interview must be understood in that context. Now, if you want to go back to what might have been or what I would have done, you are entering the realm of speculation. This is my argument. This is my point, that this thing has happened already. But as far as I know, the UDP positions at executive committee level. You are free to answer. A lawyer, and he was talking within the context of what the Constitution provides for. The Constitution doesn't talk about even a party or a politician. It talks about a passing elected president. So really, I mean, to put the speculation aside, we have a situation before us now. How do we move forward as a progressive nation? How do we move forward by putting together all the elements that are going to help the country? The efforts that Gambia Talent Promotion is doing is certainly helping. The effort that Gizgiz is doing, Fatu Network, Care Fatu, all of you have open space so that people can, in a very civil way, discuss all these issues of importance. Now, the judgment ultimately come and they have meaning. So if you go to the people and they give you a mandate, you have to live the full extent of that mandate.
So, Mr. Taal, you mean to say the things that Ousainou say in platforms such as that statement at Gizgiz is his personal opinion still? Is that where you stand? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
It's his personal opinion. Mr. Taal, Ousainou being the leader of the
he's a Gambian.
Yeah, but he wasn't invited. He wasn't invited in his capacity as an ordinary Gambian. He was invited as a party leader of the UDP in that platform, just like I invited you. So your lofi wani sudame betanga rek ngene opinion. Don't you think the lolo halna modoy war? Sutange rek personal opinion la.
That would betanga. I'm just telling you because dafa wax ne li executive UDP la.
Ngene dafa wax ne lan? Why they got invite? Wow.
Well, I understand now, Lulu. From I'm context for my invited. Why position UDP la? Then go like mom nakala ko gise mom explain lim ko gise. So gis lola establish. Ma nga wax ne la na du ñaka bes dina xew ci political platform benen member of UDP wax leneen about loolu loo xam ne dafa utee ak Mr. Darboe li mu wax ci démocratie nag moom foog rek ngeen am times yoo xam ne da ngeen am different opinions waaye dafa mel ni media bi Gambia yëpp Mr. Darboe li mu wax that day loolu lañ bëgg a seet rek yaa fi doon wax affaire yi selectivity loolu lañ bëgg a seeti ne loolu moom moo tas coalition bi o loolu moo yaaxa coalition bi o dugga na fii time boobu nii la demee woon o nale la demee woon man dama ñëw rek pour clarifier ne politique affaire waxtaan la affaire mbooloo la te su fekkee ne dem nga ba yàlla jox la mbooloo dina am ñoo xam ne bés dina am si bés yi ñu wax loo xam ne neexu la wala sax yow d'accord loo ci ànduloo ci waaye parce que yéen a bokk benn ànda da ngeen a daxal as a political movement àddina nag moom ñun ñëpp fii lañ ko fekka politique bi soo si bokkee li nga wax saa yu nekk dafa am lu tax ngay koo wax so Mr Darboe li mu wax noonu ci gis-gis programme bi specifically about this 3 years 5 years loolu ñun parti bi détermine nañ ne loolu was his comment as a legal practitioner.
So what is the UDP's current stance when it comes to the 3 years and the 5 years, as well as the coalition as a whole?
Well, we were not the conveners of the coalition. You invite on you them invited on last weekend. Mbolo nga oye. Suñ la joxu dañ laa wax dara.
Waaw
waaye ñun suñ boppa ñu ngi gis jéguñ ak ton ndax nii la ndax nale la suñ paree rek dinañ oo taskati xibaar yëpp wax leen ne leen affaire coalition bi UDP lii mooy position am.
So at this minute, you cannot reveal to us what the UDP's position is. I understand that you did not convene the meeting. The meeting was convened and you guys were invited and you are attending. But then, what is the UDP's position? The person representing UDP at the meeting, Mr. Darboe or whoever, suñ demee lan la ñoo wax ne lii mooy ñun suñ position when it comes to the coalition, when it comes to the UDP.
Lola explain me, right? I just said, we are in serious discussions with it, and the executive will determine a position. And once that position is determined, we will press a conference and explain on the issues in the Gambia going.
A lot of people are asking or speculating why now the coalition has not have any meetings or any activities. It was dead and dormant. A lot of people were removed from power, stakeholders I mean, but then since the UDP principals have been removed, discussions are in high gear. Of course, UDP, like you said, are not the conveners of the meeting, but some people are saying maybe the champion Satmata Tambajang and stuff for her to mobilize just because the UDP 3 have been removed, and that is unfair. What's your take or reaction to that?
I repeat the same point. We haven't convened Tambajang since the beginning. And when Mr. Andrew were removed, coalition, they did not keep to their understandings or agreements. And that is why, since the forming of government in 2017, they did not have even one meeting. They did not make any reference to the coalition. Again, Mrs. Tambajang was in Dakar when Senegal was inaugurated. Having their independence earlier this month. And it was from there that she called to invite us to a meeting. And our delegates went to that meeting. The meeting in the event did not hold. And the PDOIS wrote to dissociate themselves from any future coalition talks. Every day to find the best strategy going forward. Whether to treat the coalition talks and processes.
Okay. Fair enough. Barrow was our Barrow. Since is he still our Barrow? Is he still UDP's Barrow? This is, of course, a message that was championed by the Secretary General and a lot of the members of the UDP. Barrow is our Barrow, Barrow is our Barrow. And that we needed to stand for him, we needed to encourage him. The Secretary General was heard on numerous occasions championing this. I remember during the United Nations conference he had in the US, him challenging the members of UDP in New York to support Barrow. Ne kuneka danga am fode joge. It's true that Barrow is a coalition president, but then dafa joge ci kër te kuneka bem challenge len sax ne yeen ñep yeen nga fi ni, you are all here but you all from Gambia. be use mandinka proba bine niñ ko de waxe ne lu garab yaga si geej du tax mu musa nek jesit in mandinka of course is how he said it. So Barrow was our Barrow. He was the Moses who saved the Gambia from Pharaoh. What happened to all of those things? And is he still our Barrow?
Well, I like your commentary. I think it's very interesting. But I did not hear the question.
You said you didn't hear what?
Your question. What is the question?
Is Barrow still our Barrow? He was the Moses that saved us from Pharaoh. Basically, UDP brought Barrow and introduced Barrow to the Gambian people. Nobody knew Barrow. Of course, now we hear a lot of those things being said. Nobody knew about Barrow for the longest. He contested in Jemara on behalf of UDP in the past. I interviewed Mr. Darboe and asked him. He told me, I asked him when Barrow joined UDP. He said he cannot tell me specifically, but he remembers that he contested against Mama Kande in Jemara back in the days. And that is when he can actually remember him being part of the team. But Barrow was our Barrow all along. Is Barrow still our Barrow? That's the question.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, evidently, I don't understand the context of whether Barrow is our Barrow or Barrow isn't our Barrow. I just don't get the context. I'm saying in a political life, is that statement will have to be contextualized. Coming from 22 years of dictatorship and needing to build a united country, obviously an elder statesman like Ousainou Darboe is always going to play the unity card as much as possible. Even when he was in the government, he always tells everybody that the agenda of the government is not the unity. So his statesmanship is what my focus has been on all this discussion. As a statesman, he is trying to build a united front. And it's a fact that Barrow grew out of the UDP. It's a fact. Now his surrogates are calling that the UDP are the enemies of Barrow. And we don't have enemies. We have brothers and sisters. And to building a united country that building progressive institutions so that the country moves in the right direction. I mean, this whole politics of personalizing political leadership or political offices are things we hope will be things of the past. And as long as we have leaders who have sacrificed credibly for this country, as long as we have work to do, some of us will continue to believe that Gambians will come to the realization that we have more things in common to get our country moving again than to engage in this pulling back, pulling forward, pulling in all directions and not really making out forward progression. On this Barrow is our Barrow, I mean, I heard it so many times, I really don't understand what it means. And it's in the context of this, I think is there to see and to comment appropriately. As far as I'm concerned, this is all I want to say on that issue, really. That it is really about the context which we are in. And the context is that we need to jump.
When did this whole Barrow UDP stuff started? I mean, when did this whole thing start? Barrow's difference with the UDP.
Maybe Mr. Barrow would be the best person to explain that, because we have been principal from then to now.
Principal in what sense? Barrow was our Barrow, like we said, and he was working with the UDP. 3 ministers, a lot of diplomatic positions and other advisory positions, all coming from UDP. But all of a sudden, we started hearing rumors of Barrow having a difference with the UDP. In the first place, was it true that at some point he had to send Suku Singate and some elders to come and plead with Ousainou? Is that true? What can you tell us about that?
I have no information.
You have no information. So Barrow, we've heard him in an audio saying he is UDP. The vice president was UDP. The speaker of the house was UDP. And he was asking for UDP to make him the flag bearer, and that whoever contests against him was committing a political suicide or political coup d'etat rather. Is that when the problem started? When he wanted to be flag bearer?
Well, I mean, these are questions. I think the best person qualified to answer them is Mr. Barrow.
But the problem, Ben Alamdu Kelengdi, Mr. Taal.
But you only know Mr. Barrow there. I've heard Mr. Barrow.
But it's him and UDP though. Do mom Kena? It's him and UDP.
No. Why? How can I comment on that?
I ask you, did he send members of some state elderly people like Suko Singate and others for guide and plead with Ousainou Darboe? Lulu is something that I ask. Okay. Legi Kanyla Barrow difference Barrow outright there is a difference between Barrow and the UDP. I ask you, when did that start? You cannot tell me. You don't know?
I don't know, no.
Oh, okay. But then we have seen the former vice president, the secretary general, being vice president together with Nyom Amadou Sane, UDP holding rallies all the time and talking, throwing shades at Barrow sometimes, and Barrow throwing shades at UDP sometimes. Was this really ideal? Because apparently at that time there was a big difference. None of the principals who are removed was caught by surprise. From what they said, they all said they knew that their firing was coming. I think was it Amadou Sane or Mr. Diba said at some point the only thing he had in his office was his folder or something, that he would not even keep stuff in his office because they saw it coming every day. Mr. Darboe himself said the same thing. All the other people who are fired said the same thing. Ibrahim Adiba and others said they knew it was coming. So when they knew it was coming, why did they not resign from their positions? A lot of people are asking, why did they have to wait to be removed by Barrow?
Why should they resign?
Because they were having a difference with the president and all the things that they are coming out to say now that, okay, we have talked to him about this, he is not the person that listened. A lot of them are coming out and saying things now that obviously when they were in, they didn't say. If I am principal, I am not agreeing with you. We are not seeing eye to eye when it comes to the work. I mean, out of principle, should I not resign and just leave you handle things? Because they were offered positions in the past by Yaya Jammeh. We all knew and heard and read and heard over and over again. They refused those positions. So if Barrow, of course, gave them a position and Barrow is not doing up to expectation, I mean, could they not have resigned as well in the interest of the country?
They could have, but they chose not to resign. The country does not belong to Barrow, does not belong to Ousainou Darboe, it does not belong to anybody. The offices of the country are established by law, and there is a way to achieve those offices. Political offices are pursuant to electoral outcomes. If you win an election and you become the president, according to the Constitution, you can appoint at least 15 ministers. And those people must come from a base of support, a base of intellectual competence, a base that is known or best described by the president. So if you are at a table as of right, the head of the table may have antagonistic views, may have contrary views from you. It doesn't mean that you don't have to be at that table because he doesn't like it. So this is the kind of politics that we have been fed so long, you know, that you can, on principle, resign. The Gambian people elected the UDP former flag bearer of UDP now to be the president of the country. And people who voted for this man, most of them are saying that they are members of the UDP. So any UDP minister, any UDP appointee is there as of right because the people have vested that right in them. our political culture is the way it is. We are not changing it now. But for God's sake, let us not think that our ideas about how governments should be run or managed are exclusively right or are the only options that are available to people who are, in fact, participating in the political.
But then
So
the
really,
argument there is
this,
they have torn down
questions.
other appointment offers in the past on principle that they are not agreeing with that government or that government style of governance. And that is why, of course, some people are using that same thing. Do you mind scooting back a little bit? Or the cameraman, please, you can move the camera back a little bit. We are almost done. But then my question is, they have actually declined other offers in the past on principle. So could they not have declined the same thing if they are actually not in line
Mr.
with...
Youth, we are making false equivalences here. We are making false equivalences. In the past, there is somebody that we are fighting against. This station, they are the ones who created this. They are the ones who built the table. They just have a head of the table there. How can you dissociate yourself from your own things?
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
I
we
really
move away from that.
The
Last question about that is, was it fair for them to be throwing shades at each other? They sit on the same table. It's just like Sibirker, Papa Agdom, wala Jekerak Jabar, wala co-workers, your sa boss, whatever the case is, you just sit. When you are there, you said, okay, that's the work. But outside of that, every one of you just go about your business and just start throwing shit at each other. So was that not confusing to the electorates, especially in India? Gambians, we are not very complex. A lot of our people are don't have formal education and don't understand. Was this not confusing the people? Because Barrow was that not really confusing to the electorates? And was that fair?
Well, the question of fairness in our political life is up for discussion all the time. What is not indisputable? Whenever elections come, the people will have an opportunity to make up their mind about your conduct throughout your political life, and they will come to a decision. Of course, one can take a position, A or B, that yeah, I don't think this is fair. I think this is causing confusion. But it's the same people who will eventually have the chance to either give you a red card or to vote you in. So really, I think the politics we are having now, the politics we are building for ourselves and for our children, must be reflective of our values. Because yang don wasisa birwa bi melni papa dombu neka ci kër. Politics not, dafa hawa passe lool. Politics is about, in my hope, that about the ideas that can move the country forward.
Okay, fair enough. The 3 UDP principals were fired, but before them, Yakumba Jaite's case was there, your own case was there, etc. What's the fate of your own case? Of course, you were on the legal team of the OIC, and the senior boss Boka, you were one of the first people who were brought from the bus.
Man musuma egg boss there. Man UV regular.
You were not in the bus? Come on.
No. I was man SUV like that.
You were not in the bus.
No, I was never in the bus.
Okay, well, you were. And
I think it's an unfortunate metaphor, and it's so childish.
You were trying to take legal action against the.
We expect better from our leaders.
Okay, you said your firing was illegal, and
yes.
What's the fate of that?
Yes.
What's the fate of that? You are still fighting the case.
Well, the process is taking its course, and we believe that in the end justice will prevail.
Okay, but how far? It's taking its course.
I try as much as possible not to talk about my Huh?
Man, how far have you gone?
I try not to talk about my personal issues.
Okay.
Well, it's taking its course. I mean, that's all I can say on online, on radio, on television.
Yeah, the OIC is getting close. We are almost at the end of April. It's November. I know the Secretariat's mandate is there, but for Lone, I mean, by the time your case is finished, I mean, Moilolo.
I don't think so.
Oh,
Why,
okay.
you are not in the loop. OIC is no longer happening this year in the Gambia.
Well,
it's happening in 2022.
Well, we just had the press conference by the what you call it, the press secretary, and that's different from what. Yes, the press secretary a few days ago, and there's still hope that it is going to happen. That you feel different.
No. There was another press conference that the IC secretariat itself saying that it will happen 2022.
Okay. Yakumba Yete's case. You them see Yakumba Yete's case. How far has that gone? Of course, that was taking a high gear, and it came with Nyom Ousainou Darboe being fired same week, and basically that just started taking a mellow tone and everything. How far with that?
It's before the Supreme Court, and is the matter is, like we say in law, is before the court. Is
you are not going to comment
I
on
cannot possibly comment on that.
Okay, fair enough. Now Barrow is continuing. Of course, Guinea Ayakumba, Nyom Ousainou. Of course, Ibrahim Adiba was added. Mr. Bojang from the UK embassy was added. There are still some key members of the UDP inside the government. What is those people? What are those people's fate?
Only Mr. Barrow knows that. I have no idea.
Okay, only Mr. Barrow knows that when it comes to his side. How about for UDP? Because we have seen UDP also, as you said, Nyom Undanyang and others were removed by the people. So what is the fate of those people? UDP also are they in that category of the same line with Barrow where, okay, Kepa Kubokas, you are either with Barrow or you are with UDP. Is that the case with UDP as well? With some of your principals who are still
playing, Mr. Yu. We are not playing game, and was the decision of the people in KMC. The KMC branch of the UDP were the ones who made the decision, and that was not an executive level decision. So really, it's not a question of playing a game. They are the ones who are leaders, and they are the ones who go to elections, and the Gambian people elect them. All these things we will leave to the good judgment of the Gambian people at the appropriate time. I believe we will.
Well, people are saying UDP didn't gain as central executive and said, okay, it's the people that did it. But UDP has been widely accused, even in the case of Birkama or KM, during their primary season on convention B. They have it's been said the central executive influenced a lot the decision of the removal of some of the people. And in fact, for time's sake, Dumakople, but Maimuna Sise, Minekan in New York has even said the same thing when it came to how Adama Barrow was even brought in versus Dr. Aissatou Toure when people wanted Aissatou Toure and the games that were played. She highlighted a lot of things that happened in the process of either bringing Adama Barrow or bringing Dr. Aissatou Toure in. So there are a few instances in which the Central Committee of the UDP or executive of the UDP is accused of micromanaging these institutions and would just hide behind, okay, nitila, but in essence, it is the Central Committee that gave that directive for those people to be ushered out.
Clearly, Mr. Juf, I have different sources of information from you. And also the fact of the matter is that what happened before my being part of the UDP executive, I cannot speak to that credibly. But since I have been in the UDP, the executive is very, very, very independent, is very, very decentralized, There is a student movement alongside the youth movement of the party, or the youth wing. There is a student wing. They are doing their things. Most of my job, because it doesn't come to the executive committee level, they will call me and say, we are doing this thing. Do you have time to come by and be part of it? So as a party, I can speak up now. We are very, very clear as to the need to leave the government of the people to dance. We want them people, especially the young, to dance. Because if we don't do that, as a party, we will be successful. We will not be able to deliver on this agenda of being for political managed country. We need to train the young that is renewing itself constantly on a daily basis. So to say that the executive or the central committee micromanages any branch of the party, clearly you are just on a fishing expedition, because you will see that when Mr. Darboe was with you guys in Seattle, we had the Bundung rally. It was massively successful. We had the foundation stone laying of the bureau in Jas. It was massively successful. And to crown it all, when Mr. Darboe was coming back home, that welcome, if at all because of a party that is divided or a party that is engaged in bickering, it would have been clear. Everybody accepts that, there is a force for good that is with this party. And on a daily basis, we are looking for strategies that will make us stronger. We are looking for partners and alliances that will take this country forward. And I think with time, elections will settle this matter definitively, because once we have a new constitution and we have new elections and have a new class of leadership running the affairs of this country, I think every Gambian would be proud to be associated with the political process that led to that.
Okay, what is the Dembo by force? Is he still a UDP? He said he's tired of being an opposition. Is Dembo by force still part of UDP?
Yes, he's the national president of where his allegiance are.
Okay.
Because for me, that's the point. We had a Congress in December, and he was elected as the national president.
Okay. So, but he is still considered to be a member of the UDP.
He is a member of the UDP. It's not a question of considering him. He is he's in the UDP.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to have anything clear about Dembo by force, you ask him.
Absolutely. But then whether the party can ush him out. Anyway, Mr. Darboe came to the United States. We move on. We have two more things to deal with. Like, finally, Mr. Darboe came to the United States. A lot of people say, okay, it was a way of him coming to actually find abode because he was removed. The pressure was high on him. He just came to the United States to run away from the embarrassment of him being removed as VP. Is that the case?
No, that's not the case. The chapter, UDP chapter there, you can verify it with them. They had invited him, I think, at the beginning of the year after the Congress. But because of his steadfastness with his public, he was wondering whether it would be appropriate to go to a party Congress while serving as vice president. So he was kind of bent down by the responsibilities of the high office. So it came as a godsend when his removal was effected. Then he was free to act, and they would dice and got him able to raise a lot of funds from the diaspora for the party. And I think there are many calls from the other diaspora chapters to try as much as possible for him to make a presence. I mean, embarrassment, when I hear these kind of questions coming at me, I think they are either to provoke me or to just try to revise history. What Ousainou Darboe has done for the Gambia, I don't know who the Gambia is not aware. And for one to have knowledge of that and frame certain questions or list certain speculations and throw it out there, quite frankly, it just makes us realize that, look, we are not doing as good a job as possible to send a message that we are doing it entirely voluntarily. Nobody is getting salaries or you are a member of any part of the UDP. The work we are doing, we have been doing for the country. And we will continue to do it. And God willing, when we get government, I think most people will then understand the quality of people that have been leading this movement. Because everyone knows how it is for lawyers in the Gambia, especially during the time of Ousainou Darboe. If he had wanted a cozy life, comfortable life, obviously he would have been doing something different. But you know, let us move ahead. Let us think about all the things that we can do together for our country, and see where our best role is going to take this country.
Okay. A lot of money was raised in the US. They were pledges, obviously. I asked Mr. Darboe this question during my interview with him, and the deadline was given for November for these pledges to be turned into reality. Have those pledges started coming? It's been almost a month since he left the US. Have the pledges? Have the pledges started coming in?
Indeed.
Oh, okay.
The party is so grateful to all the supporters, especially around the Seattle chapter. And we hear, you know, a lot of good news about other chapters trying to beat or at least match what was raised in Seattle.
In Seattle, okay.
So these resources are always necessary for a party in movement, trying to organize as many things as possible. We are thinking of having more programs and policy dialogues and discussions that will improve the leadership qualities of the party across the board. These are all things that we probably would need some consultants, some experts. They cannot donate or volunteer their time entirely. At least they will be expecting some transport allowance or honorarium for their time. Because really we are building up a new class of leaders. Every day we are trying to do a lot more women empowerment. We are trying to see how within the framework of the lawmaking remit of the parliament, how we can include more young people in work and employment, in education, how we can get more women to participate in the political process. These are all things that we need to focus on, and just because elections are coming, we want to build a really strong modern party going forward.
So besides the money that was raised, what else has the USA trip done for the UDP? Ousainou Darboe's USA trip, besides the money that was raised, what other?
Well, the trip was principally to honor an invitation from a chapter of the party. And you will remember from our Congress, there was a resolution that all the diaspora chapters of the party as integral organs of the party. And going forward, whenever Congress is coming at the national level, they will be, as of right, have an invitation. And as the democratic process expands, their involvement and participation in the political life of the country, we will try to ensure that that is also there.
Mm-hmm. Some people have said that moving away from the USA trip, you guys celebrated the 2 years of Solo Sandeng's demise last week, together with the both April 14 and 16 victims. A lot of people criticized the UDP for having abandoned those people at the time that UDP had a lot of principals in government, within government. We have had Nogo Njai came out to cry foul herself, Fatmata Jawara, and all of them came out and spoke and got a lot of media attention. Last week, of course, we've engaged the Solo Sandeng family. The wife was interviewed by other media houses. I interviewed Fatmata Sandeng, and they said Ousainou Darboe is very helpful of them. But the woman has moved a few times, and Solo's house is not even finished. I was talking to somebody specifically who said, well, would you think UDP raised all that money from the USA and other places? Ousainou, as a person, can try to help Solo Sandeng, but how much can he do for the family? Would it not be wise for the UDP, instead of spending all that money on campaigning and rallying and doing all of this Mumbai, to spend it to give some of those victims to go get treatment and the like, such as the Nogo Njais, or at least Solo Sandeng's family that is struggling. He left like several kids, young kids for that matter. His son is not going to school this minute from what we heard. The family is definitely struggling. Ousainou is doing a bit for them, but not enough. He cannot keep up with it. So people say UDP could have used some of the money they get either from Seattle or other sources, or even mobilize within themselves to help the Solo Sandeng family together with other April 14 and 16 victims and other victims who actually, because UDP has been victimized for the last 22 years, 20 years, and right now we are even seeing at the TRRC today's testimony by a UDP member, of course, of what happened to them back in the days. So what is your reaction to that? I mean, as far as UDP and the plight of the UDP victims are concerned?
Well, we thought they were Gambian victims, and we have been campaigning for that.
Mm-hmm.
We have written last year when we had the first memorial lecture, and we have explained that all the matters that victimized suffer one way or these last 2 years, including the April 10 and 11, including the high. All these people deserve recognition and support. But the victims that are alive, the victims that are living, I believe is the responsibility of the Gambia government to come to their rescue and provide them health, housing, and all the creature comforts that their parent or their breadwinners should have provided for them. UDP is doing the little it can. I'm not on this platform to disclose what individual members of UDP are doing for the family. I know Sir Fatmata very well. I know her other sisters and the brother. And the brother spoke at the second memorial lecture. That is the important question. The important is directed at the place where it can be taken up as a national cause. We have asked that this square in front of your office in the Gambia be named after Solo Sandeng and his compatriots. And it become a memorial forever to the struggle against the dictatorship of Jammeh. We have asked for a National Matters Day so that all these people that have suffered and made to pay the ultimate price, these are things that are within our, and the little we can do for the police directly. Nogoi, every time we interact with her, and she was strong enough to come to the Congress and regain her position. For us, we do in really way we can. But due to Nogoi's men, it was very clear what went wrong and who should be asked these questions. I appreciate that the UDP was part of the government, executive government. But time will tell what else can we do in the memory and in honor of the victims over these years. Everybody is I am too, but I think the most important part of this process is what do we do for the victims now, who are here now. Yes, the truth of Solo Sandeng's death, I don't think anybody can question it. But the process is in court. Everybody is saying, oh, the matter is children who cannot go to school. These are already. What truth do you need for those to help those people after 3 years since his death? So when we are talking about these issues, I hope we will not make it partisan and we will not make it a political football. Let us face these facts squarely. There is a government in charge. It should be responsible for the welfare and well-being of these victims. It's as simple as that.
But then a lot of people's argument is the UDP has been their home. There is no doubt, you are very right, that it should be the government's responsibility to take care of all victims. And in fact, this question was thrown the director of press, Amibo Yang last week during her press conference, and she said something similar, that the TRRC is ongoing and that victims, all victims, not only April 10 and 11 or UDP victims or anybody, all victims should wait for the outcome of the TRRC. But then how long are these victims going to wait? You hear the plight of the April 10 and 11. They're telling you for 20-something, over 15 years, they've been sitting down waiting. They tell you, how their dreams have been shattered, how they are hurting, how they are not able to do anything for themselves, and that they would just continue to wait for how long, how much longer. Some of these victims, of course, especially UDP victims, we have heard some of them who had passed away in the past.
Barbara, I wish we would say Gambia. We are not UDP protesting.
Obviously, yes. Obviously,
this is what.
Obviously, they came from the UDP. Obviously, they came from the UDP. Huh?
Yeah.
They came from the UDP, and UDP has a stake. Yeah, there is no doubt that their fight was for the Gambia, but the UDP has been their home, and UDP claims them, and UDP plays a major role. Matter of fact, even in the last celebration, and everything that happened. So we cannot distinguish them from the UDP. UDP has been their home. And
léegi nag foofu la problème bi nekk. Su fekkee ne UDP waxuñ ñii kenn du ko dee wax. Su fekkee ne UDP joguñ ne ñii victims lañ. Dada Haidara was a victim. April 10 and 11 victim lañ. Kenn du ko wax ba time bi su ñëwee in April.
That is unfair. Kuneka is doing their
UDP.
These ones specifically were from UDP, and obviously, so even appears TRRC, they are not being talked about as people that are from who were doing things. Of course, you get reference specifically to the UDP incidents and them being UDP members and what happened. If you just watch today's testimony, I'm starting the question guy UDP victims in 1995, 96, whatever. In 1996, rather 97, and subsequently, you will hear that the name UDP is gonna come up a lot. And in this case, Mununche Gene UDP Mr. Taldo, right?
No, what man you get into UDP? Madam Funny, because the UDP they are not getting what they should get from.
Is that what you think?
System.
Is that what you are saying? They are not getting what they get because they are UDP. Course. Is that what you are saying? That they are not getting what they deserve because they are UDP?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Well, in fact, some people are saying, just like the memorial that you talked about, changing the youth monument and other things, people are saying, some people are arguing that there were other victims before April 14 and 16. So why should UDP be spared? Why should Nuara Hasalwa UDP when there have been other victims way before the UDP victims and victims who suffered through other means or other times? What's your take on that?
No. What we are laying claim to are two things. We have Solo Sandeng Memorial Lecture. We have it in 2 days, 2 years successfully. The first one was delivered by Emmanuel Diouf, who is now the chairman of the Human Rights Commission of the Gambia. The second one was delivered by Madi Jobate, These are all activists and civil society persons in the Gambia. We have been talking about this thing at least for 2 years now, that we need a Martyrs' Day in the Gambia, one. Secondly, we recognize the prominent figures like Solo Sandeng. Solo Sandeng, mom, he was coming out politically. Other victims, Kumeli Deda Hydra, was not a political figure. Someone like Chief Mane is not a political figure. The April 10 and 11, they are not political figures. So if you have a monument around Westfield where this incident happened, it is fitting, makes sense that you honor one in the number. It does not mean that the rest of the victims are not honored. But this is a work for government. We have to put it in the book of law. This is what we are saying. It's not a competition that we have been more victimized or others have been more victimized. So in the final analysis, Seju, I just want it to be clear that as a political movement, we are going to do control the political destiny of this country. And once we are at that level, we will ask people to judge us by our actions, occurrences, or things that we do not talk about. When was the last time you had Solo Sandeng's name mentioned in government?
It's interesting. It's interesting that that hasn't been happening. And
my questions, but they are rhetorical questions. I'm just making the point that, look, in the political process, you have to take these knocks as they come. But we are very clear about all these attempts to delegitimize the majority that the UDP has. Whether it's a simple majority or is an absolute majority is not the issue. Elections will come again. And all the work, all the sacrifice that every member of the UDP has been putting in the case of the Gambia is going to continue. We are not going to be we are not top down. We know what we are doing. We know what we have done for this country, and it will continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taal. It's been a long 2 hours. It's my first interview with you, and I had all of these things to clear. I promise next time it wouldn't take this long. Finally, what is UDP up to? We have seen the Solo Sandeng and the April 14 and 16 celebration was the last thing. What is the way forward for the UDP?
We go our reorganization and strengthening of the party cadre across the board. Like I said, we came out of Congress 2018 with 10 resolutions that are interested in empowering women, that are interested that 30% of all our elected offices within the UDP should be filled by our women leaders. We want serious youth empowerment. We want a clear vision also the ongoing climate change issues and how to green the Gambia up and make sure that our fauna and flora is only growing back, but it is also supporting livelihoods and it is also making our country as peaceful as can be. Lastly, also, we are saying that if you look at the Gambian economy, it is time that we empower Gambian entrepreneurships. It is time that we empower Gambian businesses because our economy continues to be in the grip of non-Gambians. We are not averse to anybody coming here to seek their fortune, but it is time that Gambians, especially the young people in this country, have meaningful work when they get out of school and they have the right skills. So we have this of resolutions coming out of Congress, and we are in the process of operationalizing them. But immediately there has been an invitation in Basse. There would be a rally on Saturday to commemorate what is it called? The April 14 and 16 incidents that happened.
People say the rallies are too many. UDP rally weekend, every weekend rally. I know we were wrapping
Well, it's not
up,
the case every weekend rally. Last 2 weekends we did not have a rally.
Sometimes two rally, huh? UDP is up to something every
No,
weekend,
I
and
mean,
people said, okay,
but
it's not
look
time
at
for.
it. I mean, the other meeting in this place, Jara Summer, we were laying foundation on our own bureau there.
Mashallah.
I mean, this is just to go and make the point, because in Basse also we are trying to strengthen our party cadres, and they were very happy about the. I mean, they are not happy. They are in solidarity with what happened in April 2016. So they want to see the leader. They want to see the party executive there before the Ramadan, and during Ramadan we do more of the work of our parliamentary leaders. We will try and see what kind of private members' bills can be introduced in furtherance of some of these objectives that I've just talked about, especially in terms of youth, women, and Gambian empowerment businesses. These are things I think there is a general consensus that it should happen and it should be written in the book of laws.
Mm-hmm. One important question I didn't ask you is about UDP militants that are insulting on social media and a lot of people who actually differ in ideology with UDP. I'll be quick to say that it's not only UDP but that does it, but it's very rampant and it's taking high gear. Anybody who disagrees for the most part with UDP, you will have a lot of people who will attack them. And some people have argued that whether the UDP leadership has actually control or a voice to control their people, wala pour wax niti okay, at least definitely or do this or do that. What is the UDP leadership doing about this? We have heard Mr. Darboe made those pronouncements as far back as I cannot even remember. Yes, he has made pronouncement, but it's escalating. The Maimuna Sise I told you about made those remarks that she has no problem with the UDP leader. If she would leave UDP for any reason, that's the reason, because she's associated with President Barrow and his camp, and as a result, members of UDP are cussing her out left and right on their platforms. You hear WhatsApp audios left and right left by UDP militants. You see on Facebook people doing live videos, people writing text, people calling people names, especially President Barrow or anybody who disagrees with the UDP. What can you tell us about this as far as the stance of UDP is concerned, and why is this thing escalating? Finally, I know we are going to go, but this is a very important question.
I think it's a very important to use your own descriptions here. The party, Mr. Darboe, and everybody in any elective office of the UDP condemns this outright. We live in a plural democracy. It is not befitting anybody to meet arguments with abuse or insult. If you Mr. Famously said, even if they abuse my mom, please don't say anything back to them. So in it's not about the UDP. This is about individuals who are members of the UDP or who are claiming to be militants of the UDP, are showing themselves for who they are. Because the politics of the future is going to be based on performance. Anybody who wants to be recognized as to the highest standards. I mean, this kind of talk is very rampant because of social media these days. Maybe in other corners, there are other things that are going on. But anybody who to abuse or to engage in any discussion, certainly you are not the highest ideals of the party.
Yeah, but these things are not hidden though.
Leadership.
My point, Mr. Taal, these things are not hidden. Some of them will go on live Facebook or do WhatsApp videos. And these are people, names of people who are associated with
that's Mr. Ju. I agree entirely with you that this is inappropriate. It doesn't have any place in our political discourse. Okay. This is not something that we should be wasting our time on, because it consumes a lot of energy. I mean, for once, I never even listened to those kind of things. As soon as I know that this is the kind of bad or nonsense somebody is saying, I just delete it. I have no issue whatsoever. But there are people who have this habit or this need to transmit those messages. You give it oxygen. These people should be shunned. You should try as much as possible not to have any discourse with them. But of course, Facebook and all this social media, everyone knows this. Globally, this is a problem. People from anywhere, they can do anything, put all kinds of hate messages out there. Even Facebook has to shut it down. The Congress of the US has to call them and say, look, what's going on? They are saying that the election of 2016, the Russians interfere with it. So these are viral, whether they are good or bad, whether they are adding any value to the people or not. But as a party, we don't condone, we don't understand, we don't accept, we don't tolerate any of these kind of trash talk that is going on, or people vilifying others or abusing them because of political standing.
Should it only be limited to having interviews and talking about it? Don't you think the party could have set up a branch that would actually engage such people and tell them that they are not doing this in their name and encourage those people to actually change their ways, rather than, of course, we have heard Mr. Darboe said it in interviews and the like. But is that enough? When people do it outright, especially people who supposedly the next minute you may see them having to do things with what you call it, with the executive. Don't you think the party could have engaged those people and talked to them?
You want to make the work of the UDP impossible. I mean, how can such an organization function? Because people are going to be people, whether you are with them or whether you are telling them not to be doing something, they are not children. Even children, when you tell them not to do something every day, they do the same thing over and over again. What I'm trying to say is that people like you give them oxygen to engage with them, to watch Almamy Taal on Gambia Talent Promotion. If you see him there and you don't like what he's saying, you just switch off. I mean, we can do as much as we can when we are formally and officially invited to speak against these things, so that they don't speak for us, they don't represent the UDP. It is not anything to do with the UDP. It's that individual showing everybody else who he is. So what else can we do? Establish a moral police or some kind of online surveillance to say, it's Mr. Taal Jr. who is doing this kind of activity. I mean, we don't have those kind of resources. And I think the vast majority of people on social media, they're to learn to be actually constructive. So how do we accept this small minority going on and, spreading all these, useless messages?
Thank you very much, Mr. Taal. Your final words to our viewers and listeners.
This is a very revealing platform.
Hello, you are breaking up, Mr. Taal. If you're just following us, you are listening to the Nyohobai show on the Gambian Talents TV. Pa Usman Juf is the host, and Almamy Fanding Taal is my guest. Of course, Fanding Taal of the United Democratic Party is my guest today. You have heard what he just said. Anybody who is out there and talking and insulting people and doing anything that is inappropriate, you are definitely not doing it in the name of the United Democratic Party, as he said. And we wish the militants and the surrogates actually do listen to things like this. Mr. Taal, it was breaking. I ask you for your final words. Yes, you can go ahead.
The light just went off there.
Light went off. That's it. Nawek is telling us we've been here for a long time, but go ahead. Your final words.
Yeah, I think it's one of the longest interviews.
Yes. Your final words.
Thank you very much for the time. I really enjoyed my time here.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal of course, the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party. You have heard his last words to the people that are out there insulting, whether it is UDP, whether it is DOI, whether it is PPP or NCP or NRP or any party GDC that you belong to. Insulting is not a civilized way of doing politics. There is what is called political maturity. We are lagging that as a nation. Our people need to learn to be more mature in the way we handle each other. We can disagree with each other, but definitely at the end of the day, we have a lot to discuss, and we should be able to engage each other to convince each other. You either convince me or I convince you, rather than us resorting to insulting each other, cussing each other out, and doing whatever. Kon ñu ngi leen ay bëggee bu baax a baax si seen déglu ak seen seetaan bu rafet. Nyohobai show la woon with lawyer Almamy Fanding Taal. We have highlighted a lot of issues that have to do with the United Democratic Party. Yes, it's a long interview, 2 hours 30 minutes. It's the first time that I have had him on the platform, and obviously these are a lot of issues that have accumulated with time, and that is why we stayed that long. But we thank him very much for honoring the invitation, and thank you guys who are watching. Share the video. You will raise awareness about the United Democratic Party and their stance on a lot of issues. And to those of you that are following, don't forget to subscribe to our page. If this is the first time you are following us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you are listening to us through Facebook, don't forget to like our page, Gambian Talents Promotion. If you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat, Gambian Talents Promotion. This is a non-profit online broadcasting network, and then we will be glad to receive some support from you guys. We want to be your eyes. We want to see with your eyes. We want to look through your eyes. We want to hear through your ears, and we want to be able to talk with your mouth. For that reason, we are appealing to all of you guys. Ñu ngi leen a ñaax pour ngeen jàppale ñu, ndax jàppale ñu mooy jàppale seen bopp, ndax dépasse platform bi dafa expensive. Dégg ngeen Mr. Taal mu ne the light just went off. You were seeing him initially. Of course, the credit got finished. Of course, it's very expensive to pull programs like this, and we rely on your support in order to maintain our institution. Your financial contribution will be very important. You can send it to us for us in Gambia, 7833-3524, 7833-3524 if you want to donate any amount to Gambian Talent Promotion, or you can also subscribe to our Facebook channel for $5 a month by clicking on the green button next to the comment section. Anytime you are watching any of our programs, you will see a green button with a love sign. If you click on it, it will take you straight to the link that you can contribute through, and also through our PayPal account, gambiantalents@gmail.com. ñu ngi leen ay bëggee bu baax a baax seen déglu ak seetaan bu rafet. Don't forget to share this video. Thank you very much till we come your way next week.
Bambali la sila manja, uya fala la sila manja, ngomari masale bokelela. Na figi la sila manja, jakula bambali la sila manja, uya fala la sila manja, muna ngomari masale bokelela. Yo Gambia, ntalam albadi malam nena jeli suso, ntele bari janto bi Gambia ntelen show, mamo be tantula mal jayla albadi malam, the queen of Manding.
Nañ ko sànni fële si mbalit gi ne xale ndaw yi toog di ko foye fële door leen di seetaan Gambia Talent Promotion, you get me? They promoted only Gambians, and this is our own thing, Gambia, you get me? Suma fans soo leen ma bëggee gis boy fii rek la boy si hot platform bii la boy You get me? This is how we do it.